Good evening. Welcome back to the kickoff. Today is a great day. Newcastle are playing in the Champions League, and I'm going to enjoy it for as long as I can until Mbappe probably rips us a new one. On the positive side, at least Newcastle will be getting ripped a new one by one of the best players in world football, and not Galatasaray, who dicked down Manchester United raw dog last night at Old Trafford. It was ugly, I've got to be honest. And look, if it wasn't for the fact that I've questioned the ability of Ten Hag before everyone, just to be clear, and this is the guy, I don't know a lot about football apparently, but before everyone, let me just say that one more time. I take no pleasure in how awkward this is becoming, you know, because at first when they told me, oh, you don't know anything about football, Brian. Oh, it was funny when Erik Ten Hag was struggling. Now it's just sad. I feel sorry for him. I really do, because as much as Manchester United fans have defended him, and credit to you lot, I'm going to be honest, you've done your best to try and take the heat off him and defend him and back him. I will give you credit for that. But now it's just indefensible. It's a lot like Manchester United's goal, actually. Awkward. We have to kind of look into Ten Hag and see, like, why was he believed in so much? He kind of has the demeanour of someone who should be a great football coach. And of course, there was the success with Ajax. He had them playing beautiful football. But let's really ask ourselves, how high of a level is the Dutch league really? It wasn't that long ago that Steve McLaren won a league title there. And Steve McLaren is a trash manager. Take it from someone who knows. We had him. He was horrendous. Now, he's your assistant coach. How did that happen? I know he used to be at Manchester United when Fergie was there, but football's moved on. Why have you still got a dinosaur as your assistant manager? He is literally coaching this team. He can't coach his way out of a paper bag, mate. No one's questioned that either, by the way, but unlike a lot of people, I do like to look at what they call the details. Erik Ten Hag has spent close to 400 million since coming in at Manchester United. And look, he inherited some dodgy players that he had to get rid of, fair enough. But 400 million is a lot of money in football. And he also inherited some very good players like Bruno, like Marcus Rashford, who have consistently won him football matches where the football wasn't particularly great, but their individual brilliance has bailed him out with some very average tactical displays as manager. So it hasn't all been, oh, we inherited terrible footballers. He's inherited some real match winners as well. Now, I'm going to give you some credit. He obviously has had some injuries this season, but to say that those injuries have left him with a team incapable of beating what was in front of them would be a lie. And there's a lot of people who are lying to themselves. Stop it. You know for a fact that Erik Ten Hag has a team good enough to beat a lot of these teams that they've lost to this season. Outside of Bayern Munich and maybe Arsenal, the rest were very winnable. So let's look at what happened last night. And I'm actually going to start on a positive. Rasmus Højlund, what a player you have in him. I am jealous. It's surprising because when I looked at his record when he came from Atalanta, 10 goals in 34 appearances, you're like, yeah, could be okay. The guy looks absolutely class. I don't know what career he's going to go on to have, but just in that game last night, he reminded me of Alan Shearer. You know, that blonde head of hair, that rapid turn of pace, and people forget Shearer was quick before his big injuries. Just his awareness in the game of how to sniff out opportunities. He looks like he will be deadly. And the fact that he scored 2 goals, even 3 actually, one of them was offside, still at home, you can't win the game, shows what a absolute shit show Ten Hag has created in this Manchester United side right now. And he has created it. He is the one who spent the 400 million, and I can give him credit in spotting Højlund and what a player he is. But if you want the credit for the good stuff, you have to take the credit for the bad stuff. And that has been something that has been a problem for Ten Hag since he walked through the door, because Manchester United fans bet the house on him. And because of that, when things were staring them in the face, they had to ignore them, because they can't allow for the possibility that yet another manager might not work out at Manchester United. And I understand that, actually. I don't blame them, but we're getting to the point of no return now, where it's like, how bad can this get? When we look at these goals last night, and the fact that Hojlund could take the ball on from this position in his own half and sprint towards that goal, control the ball, dribble it well, stay composed in a high pressure moment at such a young age, you're looking at someone who, if he can continue looking this dangerous in games, and more importantly, Man United can give him the service he needs, well, you've got one of the best strikers in the league for the next 5 years, potentially. But again, I'm only basing this off of a few, games, but every time I see him, he looks a threat. Now let's look at the bad stuff. This absolutely baffles me, this goal. So this ball is bouncing into the box, right? First bounce is here. There's a tussle between Wilf Zaha and Delors while the centre-backs, fuck knows what these two clowns are doing. It then bounces again. So that's two bounces untouched heading towards the Manchester United box. And Onana just rooted to the spot, doesn't know what the fuck to do, and his defence aren't doing shit either. And then Wilf Zaha knocks it into the back of the net. Even it's a clumsy finish. There was ample opportunity to stop this. Man United don't look like they know how to defend this season, no matter what combination of defenders you play. And the fact that Onana, it just responds the way he does. The guy is just a calamity waiting to happen in every football match. We had this moment where Marcus Rashford decided to pass instead of shoot. And this is a direct result of Marcus Rashford low on confidence. He's obviously feeling the pressure from the fans because a lot of people have been calling him too selfish lately. In this scenario, he should be selfish, but his head's so battered by the pressure he's under, he's making bad decisions. It's not happening for him right now, and he's trying a little too hard. He's overthinking it. And for every Man United fan who was hammering him this season, I would also suggest you remember the fact that he carried you and your sorry-ass manager for the vast majority of last season. And without Rashford's goals last season, Ten Hag would have been exposed for the real level that he's at, in my opinion. So Højlund scores the goal around the 66th minute. And by the 70th minute, Manchester United are in danger again. Now, this has been a consistent thing with Man United this season of when they score, they're vulnerable. And they don't always get punished for it, but their heads go. And this is another thing that should be on the manager. You know, you see how many times where goals go in and the camera cuts to the manager on the bench of any team and the manager is telling them, stay calm, keep your head in the game, don't fucking get carried away now. And Man United always do. That's a direct result of what your manager is telling you to do. He should know by now that concentration and being present in the moment is something he needs to instill in this team. He has had them for over a year. Beggars belief, man. He gets caught out here at left back. Why? Because he's playing a central midfielder at left back. Whose decision was that? Erik ten Hag's. Yes, there's injuries. He has other defenders on the bench who play in defence, who he could have in a defending position, and yet he's chosen a midfielder. Stop fucking making excuses for him. And as Galatasaray are storming down the right-hand side here, you've got two defenders in position and the rest chasing, not prepared again. And when this ball comes in, what space you've got there. The fact that this ball comes into the centre of the box and all of that space is free blows my mind. He can't set the defence up properly. And that's why you got beat last season 7-0. This ain't new. The cracks were there last season, which is why I was calling them out. But I was called a hater who knows nothing, apparently. Well, your chickens are coming home to roost now, aren't they? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm just laughing at Onana. I'm not expecting him to save that, but even when he's just in no man's land and he doesn't get near it, man. It's awkward, isn't it? And this is, 5 minutes later? We've had doubts on the kickoff about Onana, like from early on, but this man is making such a show of himself. The fact that Man United treated one of their greatest goalkeepers of all time in David De Gea the way they did, and look, I know he was making some mistakes, but this is a man who was holding it down for you guys for the best part of a decade. The amount of bad defences that David De Gea protected, where league positions that you finished in would have been 4 or 5 positions lower if it wasn't for David De Gea, and yet they just threw him out like yesterday's garbage. He should have been given such a respectable send-off, and yet he was ushered out as if he didn't make a difference. And karma is a bitch, and I'm not saying I believe in it, but bloody hell, if footballing karma is real, you've got it right here. Wow. Onana passes it out. And he gives it away in this position, and it beggars belief. And Casemiro is obviously panicking here, like, what the fuck? Probably the best thing to do would have been to just let it go. But Onana has created a panicked situation. Because of that, Casemiro's lost his head. He brings down his man, and it's a penalty and a sending off. And there is the look of a man who is utterly out of his depth. And luckily for Onana, the ball is blasted wide from the spot, And the ironic thing is, I don't know why this is funny to me, but he gets up and celebrates as if he saved it. I mean, bro, you should still be hanging your head in shame. What the fuck are you doing right now? And if there's one thing Onana was brought in for, it was his passing ability, allegedly. He was punting it out consistently to the opposition the whole fucking game. So that myth, it's been a load of bollocks in my opinion so far. I could be wrong in the future. He may turn it around, but right now, it ain't fucking working. And one example of it is on the 80th minute where he punts it out, a Galatasaray player gets his head on it, and Manchester United, just like with the goal we seen before, where you could fucking drive a bus through the centre of that fucking defence, a header straight from the defender, and it's straight through the defence. That is absolutely insane. If Newcastle had that happen, I'd go fucking mental. It's not even schoolboy level. It's just like you don't even care. And one header, and this is the position we're in. Again, Manchester United defenders chasing Galatasaray players in an attacking position with acres of space. It's consistent. With Man United, they created good chances of their own, but Galatasaray defenders didn't down tools like this. And this is the best bit for me. From here, he's just terrible. Geordie goes for the chip on Onana. Onana's a big guy, right? Make yourself big. And he drops to the floor, preempting where the goal is going to go. And if he just stood up, he would have saved that, not a problem. Oh my God. He literally made himself as small as humanly possible. By the time that ball was dinged, the guy looked like Warwick Davis, man. What the fuck? Poor Højlund, because what a player and what a game he had, and yet you can score all those good goals and it not make a difference because other people aren't doing their fucking jobs properly. When you look at the team, there is no way that this Manchester United starting 11 isn't good enough to beat that side. But you can see from the disorganisation at the back, they're not being well drilled in training at all, in my opinion. And like I said at the start, that's on Ten Hag. It's also on Steve McLaren, who's somehow gone under the radar. I've got to question a few things though. Bruno Fernandes, right wing, it's just not his best position. Lindelof and Varane clearly didn't work. And when you look at the substitutes they bring on, Martial, Eriksen, Anthony, Garnacho, they are 4 quality players. And especially Garnacho, I think quite highly of. I think he's a real talent for the future. So it's not like Erik ten Hag is unequipped to get the results. And yet we've seen them score 5 goals in 2 Champions League games and they haven't won one. A lot of Man United fans have put a lot of stock into what happened last season. And yet, even as a Newcastle fan, I was aware that we majorly benefited from teams that ordinarily would have been right up there in transitional seasons, having a bad time of it, like Spurs, like Liverpool, like Chelsea. We were lucky. And yet, that seems to have gone over the heads of Man United fans. They automatically bought into the Ten Hag thing and discarded the 9 defeats that they had. Even Newcastle only had 5. He plays very open. Defensively, there's a lot of work to be done from Ten Hag. And they're now at 6 defeats in 10 matches, which is absolutely disastrous for Manchester United. And even all of those Man United YouTubers are finally starting to admit maybe Ten Hag isn't as good as we thought he was. Welcome to the club, because I've been saying it for the longest. That doesn't mean he's terrible, but you've placed all your faith in this guy, and a lot of it is based on what he did in the Dutch league. So when we're looking at the results from this season, Manchester United have 6 defeats in 10 matches. That is a disaster. And even the ones they've won, Wolves and Forest, very fortunate in both of those games. And the Burnley one, who are one of the worst teams in the league, it was a Bruno Fernandes wonder goal that saved them in that game. And when Man United fans are finding positives, they're going, oh, well, we have good spells of play. We look good in these games. You're going to, man. You've got really good players. The fact that this guy keeps losing so heavily in big games, the reality should be dawning on you all by now. What is it going to take? And I think a lot of this is down to, well, we can't keep changing managers. Yes, you can. That is bollocks. If anything, Man United were too patient with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We all could see it, and it got to a point where fans of other clubs were happy and laughing that you kept Ole as long as you did. It's looking like it's going to head the same way with Ten Hag, and I do think Ten Hag is a better manager than Ole. But right now, does it look like he's that much better? No. And I hear Man United fans say, well, we can't keep changing managers. I mean, we've been doing that and it hasn't worked. Well, look at the managers you've had. David Moyes, not on the level. Louis van Gaal, not at the level anymore. Hasn't gone on to do anything since. Same with Jose Mourinho. He's not what he was. We all know that. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was never ever on the level. It's not like you could have even expected him to do that well anyway. He'd never proven anything. And Ten Hag, alright, you won the Dutch league. Whoop-de-fucking-do. The way people are talking, you'd think they'd had like 5 Pep Guardiolas in charge and then finally given up. That's not what's happened here. I understand Man United don't want a managerial merry-go-round. And Ten Hag does need a bit more time. Okay, fair enough. You've put a lot of money under the hood and you've souped this car up and you can't expect the driver to get it right first time. But it's gotta fucking happen soon. And look, I don't expect it to stay this bad, but the goal, when you spend 400 million on a team that's already worth a fucking billion or whatever it was, has got to be challenging. And right now, you look like you're a relegation team with a few world-class match winners covering up the cracks. And that shouldn't be what we're looking at here. The decision I'm most interested to see taken now is what happens with Onana. I mean, you'd think he couldn't continuously be this bad. However, he's been shite in almost every game I've watched him, or average at best. And when you spend that much money on a player like him, that ain't acceptable. Not when you've let go a goalkeeper like David De Gea, who, for all he made his mistakes as well, was a much better shot stopper than Onana. And anyone who denies that, I don't know what the fuck you're looking at. I don't envy him. That's a really difficult position because you put all your eggs in one basket there. But I have got some good news for Man United fans. It's not all doom and gloom. You are playing Brentford, Sheffield United, and Copenhagen in the next 3 matches. That should be 3 points, 3 points, 3 points. All of those are easy games for a team with a level of quality that Man United squad has. I don't want any excuses. And if he struggles in those 3 games, then it's really time to fucking ask questions. Because after that, you've got Man City and Newcastle. And then it's a step up then. So you need to get 9 points from those games to have a chance of staying in the Champions League, which I don't think is going to happen now, and to maintain a decent league position to potentially mount a Champions League top 4 challenge this season. If he doesn't take maximum points from them, he must be shit. But we'll give him time to get it right. Let's see what happens and let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget, this weekend we are back. Arsenal versus Man City, Sunday, 4 o'clock, live on the kickoff. I'll see you there.